my first ever book review. It's been coming for a while, so stay tuned for a review of Dean Koontz's The Bad Weather Friend, here on Scott Reviews Things. Hello again and welcome back to Scott Reviews Things. All sorts of things. Beer, food, and now a book. A proper book I can read. I can read for the people that are interested in such things. And I've been promising a book review for a little while. I like to read. I've read lots of stuff over the years. Generally, I'm a bit pigeonholed, if I'm honest. I read a lot of Stephen King books. Read most of Stephen King books. I like Dean Koontz, and that's about it. It really. So I need to broaden my horizons. I've got a guilty pleasure in reading, and that is a guy called Mike Gale who writes sort of romantic comedy stuff and relationship stuff, but he does it in a really good way. I've enjoyed Mike Gale since My Legendary Girlfriend, way got to be 20 years ago. But yeah, so I need to broaden my horizons. I like reading autobiographies. One of my favourite autobiographies of all time was the Mike Tyson autobiography, which I thought was fantastic. I've read I'm a huge wrestling fan. I've read a lot of wrestling autobiographies and stuff like that. So if any books that you could suggest and you think I might like and need to branch out a little bit more, then feel free to leave a comment in the comments below. But this is a book, this is a review of Dean Koontz's, I don't know how this is going to look because I can't see it, The Bad Weather Friend. Now I read proper sort of hardback and paperback books, but predominantly I read on my Kindle Paperwhite. I absolutely adore my Kindle. I love it. I read mostly when I go to sleep at night. This thing's absolutely fantastic. I might do a whole video on my Paperwhite because you can have it in daytime mode, so it's really bright, or you can have it in nighttime mode, so it swaps the contrast around on it, and I absolutely love it. So this is The Bad Weather Friend from Dean Koontz. I think it was released last month in February. It cost me about £4, something like that. It wasn't very, very expensive. People that don't know who Dean Koontz is an American author that writes predominantly sort of horror, sci-fi, mystery, similar sort of stuff to Stephen King. I think that's why I sort of got into him. He's wrote some fantastic stuff over the years. The Odd Thomas series, the Frankenstein series of books. He brought Frankenstein into the modern era. I thought that was really good. There's a book called Lightning I thought was fantastic. Watchers was really good. A book called TikTok, not the Chinese crap app. That was really good as well. So some of the older stuff of Dean Koontz, well worth going to dig out if you find it in a charity shop or something like that. Or if you've got a Kindle. What I like about the Kindle is you can download a small portion and decide if you like it, and then you can commit to buy. I think that's a really good thing to do. I know there are other reading devices. I don't know if Kobo's still around. The newer stuff from Dean Koontz, from my opinion, ranges from very good to downright terrible. Some of his later books have been absolutely god-awful. So where does A Bad Weather Friend sit within Dean Koontz's very broad spectrum of work? Well, let's give you a brief synopsis of the book. So the book's about a guy called Benny Catspall. Benny is a very successful, using the American term, realtor, or estate agent, as we would call them in the UK. He's got a successful life. He works for a good company. He's well respected within his genre of work. He's got a good girlfriend. He's got a good job, and everybody respects him. But he has a problem. Benny he's too nice, which caught me off guard a little bit. So the fact that the whole premise of the book is just somebody that's really nice, a bit like myself. But one day his whole world comes crashing down. Got some notes here. His whole world comes crashing down around him. He gets fired. His girlfriend dumps him, Jill, horrible Jill, and nobody within the sphere of work, he gets fired and just thinks he's going to sail into a new job. Nobody within his sphere of work will return any of his calls, and he can't work out why. And then he receives a message from an uncle that said he's going to be. It's a voice message that he's going to be sent his inheritance, and it sets up a madcap journey to find out what's actually happened to him. The story is quite odd for Dean Koontz. When it starts up, you think it's going to go in one direction, and it doesn't necessarily do that. It's quite quirky, and it's a little bit weird, if I'm all honest. It's not the story I was expecting it to be. The chapters range, so you get the structure of the book is you get the modern day, and then it goes back telling you of Benny's sort of time in a boarding school stroke. So it's like a lab, some sort of lab thing, and the chapters, they range from modern day to fantasy horror, and in the past and his childhood. It's a very simple story. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not very taxing. I got bored very quickly of the stuff going on in the past, because I was more interested in the modern day, what's going to happen in the modern day. That's just my personal point of view. Some of you might disagree and actually quite enjoyed the backstory. I like the story, the modern story, when we start getting introduced to some of the supporting characters. So you got Benny Catspaw is the lead character, and then you get introduced to Harper, who is she's the not so subtle love interest. And then you get introduced to Spike, who is possibly one of my favourite characters I've read in a Dean Koontz book. In all honesty, I thought he was absolutely great, absolutely tremendous. The trouble is, the past bits of the book, they became a bit of a distraction, and I had no real impetus. I wanted to skip past what was going on in the past to get what was going on in the future, in the modern day. But I actually really liked the relationship between the characters of Benny, Harper, and Spike. Spike, I'm not going to give too much away. I don't want to give too much away in the book. But Spike is a great character, completely different to anything that I've seen Dean Koontz write. Unlike most Dean Koontz stories, I didn't feel any real sense of danger in this book. You've got the three protagonists trying to find out what's happened to Benny and his career, and why he's suddenly become like persona non grata, and there's never any real danger because Spike is such a big character that he almost quells any danger that comes into it. Spike's a Craggle. I'll let you find out if you decide to read this book what a Craggle is, but he's funny. He's very likable, as is Harper, the love interest for Benny, brilliantly named. The interaction between the three of them is really, really good. Like many Dean Koontz books, I found the ending to be rushed and a little bit unsatisfactory. There are some really, what I didn't. One of the things that you can either like this or don't like. At some points in the book, Dean Koontz actually leaves the narrative of the story and actually talks to the reader directly, and I find these quite intrusive. He speaks to you directly, and I found it a bit odd and out of place, and some of it was quite insulting. It was like treating you like a child, having to explain things to you, and I just found that a bit odd. Also, a slight annoyance was the length of the chapter names. The length of the chapter names in this book would they would give Stephen Hawkins the shakes, in all honesty, because they for me they distracted from the what was going on. So by the time you'd read the title of the next chapter, it had completely sort of taken away your interest in what was going on. And the chapter titles were chapters alone. I thought that was a bit strange. Ultimately, it's a book that I can tick off the list of Dean Koontz to read, but a book that does nothing badly, but does nothing well either. Would I like to read more about these characters? I'd like to read more about Spike. Spike is a tremendous character. Who doesn't need a Craggle in their life? Would I recommend The Bad Weather Friend for you to read? If you like a easy, no nonsense, just gallop along adventure where you can just turn your brain off and have a little bit of a laugh along the way with some intrusion from the author, I think I would. It's not a terrible book. It's just not the best Dean Koontz book I've ever read. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a thumbs in the middle, I think, from Scott Reviews Things. It's not terrible. It doesn't do anything terribly. I say that the off-putting size of the chapter names and the intrusion when the author talks to you directly. But I liked Benny. I liked Spike. Spike is a tremendous character. And I liked Harper. The villains and the bad guys, they came and went, and there was really no substance to them. Easy reading. Not the best Dean Koontz book, but if you're looking to something that just passes a bit of time, then why not give it a go? So that's The Bad Weather Friend from Dean Koontz. Hope you've enjoyed the review. If there's any books that you would like me to take a look at, then leave a comment down in the comment box. If you like this review, then give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. There's a subscribe button somewhere. And I'll see you very soon.